Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Lion's Den. Today, we meet with David Sauers, who is the founder and CEO of Royal Restrooms. Royal Restrooms is a luxury portable restroom company. And this is a really cool conversation because David has scaled Royal Restrooms by franchising it. And so he's got over 50 franchises all across the US. And they are now adding additional products and services, which is also part of the cool conversation we have. How do you know as a business owner when you should add additional services, and how do you decide what those services and products should be? So really cool conversation. I think you guys are going to like it. Check it out. So David, I'm super excited to have you on the show because you're actually our first guest who has expanded their business through franchising. And so I definitely want to dig into that a little bit with you, kind of understand the process around it, that sort of thing. But first, love your background here. Love the branding. Would you give us a quick overview of Royal Restrooms? When did you start the business? What do you guys do? Where are you now in its life cycle?
Yes. Well, first off, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And I am honored to be the first one who's expanded through franchising, which I'm sure most of your listeners, that's maybe could possibly be their ultimate goal. Royal Restrooms is a luxury portable restroom service. It is a full service restroom on wheels. So it's just like something at a hotel, something at your home, or a restaurant. It is a fully functioning restroom. It's just portable. So anything outdoors, from weddings to events to even business remodels, we accommodate that first-rate experience and comply with OSHA. So we're make sure that everything is sanitary and good to go.
Gotcha. And I'm thinking about, I was at a wedding earlier this year, or September of last year, in Connecticut. I've been to, music festivals in like the VIP area. There's always these trailers that have restrooms in them. I'm guessing that's what you're talking about. Are there a lot of players in that space?
So it's a growing space. COVID really had a huge impact. But yes, to answer your question more directly, our restrooms are all in trailers. It's I guess I didn't describe it that it's one of those things that you assume when you shouldn't assume. But yes, they're fully functioning restrooms in trailers that we do across the country. And our primary targets are weddings and the events, like you said. It's a growing business. We've been in business for 20 years. We started this business as a side hustle that rapidly grew from licensing to franchising. People like what we did. We changed the perception of the portable toilet. We were kind of the disruptors in the industry from your traditional portable toilets. I'm not going to say that we were the ones that, I guess we just took it from a different direction, from a more professional service rather than a need. We want you, or we invite you to have our product to elevate your event or your experience, kind of create that ambience around what you're trying to capture.
Yeah. And it really does. I mean, think back to, I lived during a time when I think these sort of more luxury, portable restrooms didn't exist. And it was like you literally had to put porta potties on the property for the event. And those are without fail disgusting. So no matter what, even like a brand new one in like 1 hour becomes disgusting. So.
Right. And that was the accepted norm 20 years ago. And that's kind of our origin story, is we had a horrible experience with a porta potty. And it's like, okay, why is this? We have chandeliers in the tents. We have, a chocolate fountain out here. And then we have a portable toilet. Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why is this all we have? And so it was such a simple idea, but it's something that nobody really wanted to address, because it's one of those things. It's like, ugh, it's yuck. We don't want to associate that. And so our business really changed, and we were the disruptors in the portable toilet industry, like I said, and we hit. We gained a lot of attention, a lot of press early on, and there's a lot of copycats out there now, and there's a lot of businesses that are very good, that they do a good job in fulfilling those needs. COVID hit though, and we thought that we were going to go under, but that really boosted our more of our presence. People became more knowledgeable about our product. They were worried about sanitation. They were worried about cleanliness. They were worried about the spread of germs. And a fully functioning restroom, you have the opportunity to wash your hands, to clean up, to maintain that stability. And so it really elevated us to the forefront. And we've seen numbers that, are kind of unheard of. I believe the trailer industry in the last 2 years has probably built more trailers than they have in the last 20.
Wow. Why?
I think just because of that awareness, people don't want to go back to a regular porta potty. They've budgeted us in. People are used to it, and it's very difficult to downscale something that people feel like it should be the standard now.
Yeah, totally. And it's kind of, a lot of people say, if you're starting a business, those industries that are not as attractive, not as sexy, are oftentimes the one where you can pretty easily, I'm not going to say too easily, but you can really carve out a niche and improve them and disrupt them, because there's not a lot of competition in there, because nobody really wants to be in that industry. And so you've latched on to, we're talking about restrooms. We're talking about like one of the most disgusting industries, right? Probably. And you guys have been able to carve out a really awesome niche, which is cool.
Yeah. But on the flip side, that's what everybody thinks about, is the disgusting side of it. But how many events have you been to where your wife or you've said, "Oh wow, okay, what's the bathroom like? Do I want to drink anymore? Do I want to eat anymore? Do I want to go to the bathroom?" No. But when there's an opportunity that is comfortable, that is inviting, and that is normal, you don't have a problem with it. Going to the restroom is still one of the most private things that we do, and we all want to be comfortable. Some would probably say, I think I can't remember where I saw this, but it was kind of one of those things where people spend more time on the toilet now than they did 10 years ago, and that where they were 10 years before. So it is, for some people, somewhat of a sanctuary where they sit down and take a breather for a moment. So by providing something nice, and people enjoy it, people want it, and people need it. So we are one of those businesses.
Yeah. Even in restaurants, like we've been talking about portable restrooms because that's your business, obviously. But even in restaurants, you're so right. If you get up from the table and you go to the restroom and it's disgusting, you come back and you mention it and you don't go in there anymore. But if it's amazing, art on the wall, music playing, smells good, spotless, you're like, man, the restrooms are really nice. Like I could have hung out in there. It leaves an impression for sure.
Well, yeah, it leaves an impression, but it doesn't taint your experience. You go back out, you're like, you know what? I'll have another glass of wine, or I'll drink another beer, or I'll grab some, I'll eat some more. I want to be here. When you go into something that is unpleasant, you don't feel, you feel icky, and it really resonates throughout the rest of how your personal experience and how you think of what's going on translates, and it moves you.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's talk about the franchising aspect of this, because that's, I think, what I'm really curious about. So, you've got over 50 locations, I think I read now. What about the beginning of that? Like when did you kind of think to yourself, "Oh, this may be a good fit for franchising?" And then like what were the steps you actually had to take to make that happen?
So that is Robert and I, my business partner.
Mhm.
We did not have this whole game plan like we are going to build this massive business and we're going to have all this success and we're going to change the industry. Our business model was we're going to have a little side hustle. If it works, if it doesn't work, we're going to make some money. If not, we'll write it off on our taxes. That changed really quickly. From everybody telling us that we were crazy, all of a sudden people are saying, why didn't I think of this? This is great.
Yeah.
Well, we had other people that used our restrooms in Savannah. And those people said, I want to bring this back to my city because we don't have it here. And we
Mhm.
started off as a license. So we started to license the name, kind of license our product. Robert and I were very much in the airplane, flying across the ocean, building it as we went. We didn't know what we were doing. So it was very rudimentary and it was very much hand holding. We learned as much from our new owners as our owners learned from us. We may have been able to teach them the troubleshooting and some of our initial marketing and stuff, but the business continued to evolve and it continues to evolve every day. But to answer your question more directly, we started out as a license. We went from the East Coast very quickly to the West Coast.
Mhm.
And as the business continued to grow, we were kind of forced into becoming a franchise. We did an event in, I believe it was Maryland. I can't remember the exact thing, but the Attorney General looked up our business because we had 4 business opportunities. They called the number, they got the information. They said that we were a franchise and that we were violating the law. So we got nasty letters sent to us and we had to comply and become a franchise or else we were going to have all these fines. And anyway, it was a lot of hustle and bustle to get regulated and have a proven model that this is a viable business, because that's ultimately kind of what they were saying is we need to make sure that this is a viable business because you can't be pitching some kind of scheme. And 20 years later, here we are. We've done a lot of things right, but we've done a lot of things wrong. One thing that we did wrong is we probably should have scaled and taken the expertise of the people who had franchised beforehand so that we would be a lot bigger, because there's a lot of copycats out there right now. This is not a difficult business to start, but it's a difficult business to maintain and really grow. It's kind of like, it's easy to say that you're in real estate if you own one rental house, but it's a whole different thing if you own an apartment complex, but you're technically both in the same business. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the quick and dirty, how we became a
Yeah.
franchise and why we became a franchise.
Interesting. So kind of forced into it. That's funny. So now you're obviously much more established as a franchise. So do you have, I mean, let's just talk about like if somebody out there wanted to open up a Royal Restrooms franchise, what would that look like? Do you provide them with stuff? Is there a royalty fee? What's the benefit to them? Like, how does it all work?
Yes. So you can find us on royalrestrooms.com and you fill out the form for franchise information and you kind of read up on a little of that to get a feel for the business that we do. But our business starts you through the process. You become part of our organization. We were somewhat the first to market, so we've got good brand recognition or recognition. But we coach you through. We have a kind of a blueprint of how to establish your business, and each market is different, so everyone is catered to a little differently based on what the market needs are. We are a slow growth, meaning that our business, right when you open, you don't have a ton of business walking in the door. A lot of stuff is events and weddings, and it's pre-planned 4, 6, 8, 12 months out. So we'll start you off with a couple trailers to get your feet
Mm-hmm.
wet. And as we build and grow, your business will look entirely different a year later because we've gotten the name out there. We've gone to some shows. We've put marketing materials out there, and we have grown within your community. We're a big, huge community support sponsors. We'd like to grow. We want you to be in our community. We require you to do 25,000 of in-kind donations to area nonprofits. We want our office owners to be community leaders and embedded in that community that we grow upon.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, that sounds kind of unique. Okay. What so people can go on the website, they can find a franchise, you provide them with a ton of service to get them up and running in year one. What about on an ongoing basis? Like I know with franchises, one of the, franchisors like yourself, one of the difficulties is as you get bigger and you have more franchises, it's more and more difficult to maintain like the standard of customer service and of, delivery and all that stuff. How do you make sure that you have like a cohesive brand across all these different franchise owners?
Well, that's an interesting point. And by traditional franchises, we are not so corporately regulated, which is probably
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that we should be. We don't have a very strong corporate infrastructure. I
Mm-hmm.
guess it is still very family oriented based.
Mm-hmm.
So we really choose our office owners. We're looking for people, like I said, that are community leaders, somebody
Yeah.
who they're staking their reputation on this brand. They're going to, not only Royal Restrooms, but they're putting their name beside it. So Royal Restrooms is synonymous with David Sauers, or Royal Restrooms is synonymous with Andy Christian or David Ray or Kevin Huckabee. These people are the business, they are the brand. And we when you wear your brand, you have a level of ownership and personal pride that goes along with it. Our brand is, we provide nice, affordable, clean toilets. We don't need to advertise that we are clean, or we don't need to advertise that we have professional service. Our reputation and the fact that we've been in business for 20 years already, where we continue to build and resonate, that is through the fact that we want to maintain that professional standard, not just corporate pushing that, but our office owners have got that instilled. They want to continue to make sure that what you are getting is the primo service.
Okay, got it. So really, really careful selection of franchise owners, making sure they fit the culture and fit the persona. Cool.
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to switch up a little bit to, I was reading up on you a little bit more, and I don't know at what point you started to branch out from Royal Restrooms and take on some additional entrepreneurial pursuits, but I would love to dig into some of those, namely Pitch Perfect TVs, Savannah bar carts, Airy transit trailers, Kruger bush campers. How do you have the time to start all these businesses, and how far along are all these things? What's going on?
So a lot of those businesses, especially Savannah bar carts and Pitch Perfect TVs and stuff, where Royal Restrooms is in the professional event services industry. So when we've done graduations for colleges, when we've done football games like the Super Bowl that just passed, or we do horse races, or we do car shows, whatever, there are elements to all of those events that are somewhat the same. We provide restroom service. Well, all of these places they have a need for refrigeration trailers for either from catering to flowers. There's a need for office trailers from, setting up temporary offices. The bar carts, most of these places have bars. We do a lot of weddings. So providing a bar cart, a facility is, in my opinion, a little bit better than just a tent with some tables. But when you take a look at it further, when you go to other events, instead of having that tent, you've got something that is lockable and secure as well, and at a less, hopefully cheaper price. The LED TVs, yes, these things are just invaluable. Everybody wants this wow experience, something new, and everybody wants to be able to see what's going on at any given place wherever they are at the event. All of those businesses right now they're all small branches or small independent owners. I am throwing these test markets out to try to collectively add something together, because it's not really changing my industry, because it's still a deliverable service by trailer. So if someone calls Royal Restrooms and needs a restroom and it's a wedding, do you need a bar trailer? We have a beverage trailer. If it is a horse race, hey, we have LED TVs. We have refrigeration trailers. We have office trailers. Can I offer you something else? It's not really putting me out. It's no different than me providing a generator or providing some other type of service. And so we've been testing these different markets to see how that transitions into it. Airy Transit is kind of the little manufacturing arm, the assembly line process. Kruger Busch Campers is truly the only one that is totally separate and isolated, which that is more of a hobby that my family and I enjoy. That is our escape. We like to travel, and we like to be out in the wilderness. We like to see nature. We like to be where no one else is. And that vision came out of a trip to Africa, where we did some expeditions and safaris, and the campers that we used were almost multi-purpose. They were off-grid campers. And when you come to America, the RV industry is, I'm going to hook this up behind my truck and I'm going to drive it down the interstate and I'm going to go to this predetermined campsite. That's not really my idea of a vacation. I am older, but I still want to be at the top of the mountain. I still like the primitive type campsite, and I want to be up on top where there is nobody else, but I'm still able to reset and get that balance of nature and clear head. And when I come back, it's a refreshing feeling. It's an adventure. It's not torture, So those campers are something that started to gain a little attention. And I'm having to put some other resources in it, but my driving focus is Royal Restrooms and what I can do to make sure that Royal Restrooms is still where it is now, but 20 years down the road too.
Yeah. Well, I love what you're doing with Royal Restrooms. It speaks to diversification in a way. A lot of companies, when they try to diversify their product line, you have to sort of sit down and reflect and say, what are we really good at? And what you could have said is, we're really good at restrooms, right? Like, a lot of companies do that. They just, like, whatever their product is, they're like, we're really good at that product. And sometimes that's not actually the right answer. And it sounds like what you guys did is you sat down and you said, yeah, we do restrooms, but what we're really good at is providing really great upscaling experiences at events. And so then you just kind of like looked around during an event and said, what else that's here could we upscale and start to provide, hand in hand with these restrooms? And I think it's really cool you're growing in that direction. I think it makes more sense and probably gives you more opportunity.
Well, I think so. But the main thing is that we listen to the event planners. We listen to what the audience is telling us. When you go to these events and they're like, do you know anybody that's got this? Do you know anybody that's got this? Or when you watch these, the bar backs and the bartenders, and they're lugging coolers across the golf course, and they're putting them in trucks, and then they've got this big refrigerator semi trying to back up and tearing up the grass, and just like, wow, why do you need a 53-foot reefer trailer when you're using like 10 feet of it? Like, why isn't there, there's other solutions that I think that we're just missing the boat on. And 20 years ago, everyone was missing the boat on restrooms. And I think by trying to provide this and trying to elevate it, because we do a really good job at restrooms, but I also think that we can do a really good job enhancing that total experience, the events experience, and adding value to us as a whole.
Yeah, no doubt. On the Kruger campers thing that you mentioned, so are you like building the campers? Are you procuring campers and then like adapting them? Like what is actually happening in that business?
So the cabin is built overseas, and we have made some transitions to it. But when it comes to the States, we're making sure that we do all the plumbing, we're making sure that we're doing all the electrical, we're making sure that we're putting everything together to make it fit for, I guess, America. So it's not like we're revolutionizing this whole thing, but our products, our trailers are molded like more like a boat rather than stick built like our traditional RVs are now. I firmly believe that the campers that we're building right now will be a generational camper, because it is built to be off, on any kind of terrain. But it does lack the amenities that most people consider when they're buying RVs. Like, it doesn't have like a fireplace and a huge TV. It is very purpose built, purpose driven. It has specific spaces. One thing is we do not have black tanks in any of our trailers, which is mainly because of Royal Restrooms. We, if you're bouncing across the road, we do not want to be sloshing all of that in a tank. So there are. It's. I like to think of Kruger Busch as your suitcase for adventure.
I like it. Yeah, and I have it up. We'll link to it in the show notes, but I have it up on my screen right here, and it's like a compact trailer, but it's got like the tent up on top that goes up or whatever for an extra sleeping spot. Looks really cool, man. I think you've done a great job.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, one thing I didn't hit on that I kind of wanted to circle back to, you said, at the beginning when you founded Royal Restrooms, it sort of just started as a kind of a hobby. Let's see if we can make some money on the side kind of thing with your buddy, who's your business partner. What were you doing before that? Like, were you an entrepreneur before that? Were you in corporate? What was going on?
So no, before I played golf. I was one of the assistant pros at the Landings Club, and I got injured in a car accident. And I went to work for a local bank after that. Pinky Butler, who was kind of my mentor when I was growing up, he came to me and he was like, I can teach you how to be a banker. You already have the other piece. You already have the personality. You have the knowledge to do what it takes to become a commercial lender. And I think I'd always kind of had a little bit of that entrepreneurial spirit ever since the very beginning. I'd always worked through high school. I worked through college. I was always trying to make things a little bit better, taking what I learned at this job and applying it to my next job. And how can I make the processes go a little more smoothly, or how can I perfect this? Being a banker, I got to enjoy in a lot of my client success. I got to see firsthand the behind the scenes. I got to learn from these people, and it's almost like, wow, I want to be these people too. I want to be the I want to foster my own destiny here. I want to control my fate, even though you don't. It just, there's a lot of luck, and there's a lot of determination, and there's a lot of, I'm taking 2 steps back before I take a step forward.
Oh yeah.
But when Robert and I started our business, it was, it's a good idea. We can do it. Let's try it. Let's see what comes of this. And both Robert and I had families that had all come from entrepreneurial backgrounds. So it was in our blood. We had grown up seeing that. So it wasn't a difficult transition, I should say. A lot of people that I talk to, you almost have to coach them into being that entrepreneur. They want it, but they have this fear that holds them back, and even as entrepreneurs, we get that when we start out, we'll leverage everything. Everything is 100%. But when you've had a little success, you start to roll that back. Like, you start to worry, like, I don't want this to be taken away from me. And you get comfortable instead of being so aggressive. And as an entrepreneur, you have to continue to push your boundaries, and you have to continue to be aggressive in order to grow and learn.
I think that's an awesome place to end the show. Really good advice for entrepreneurs out there, and for anybody who's interested in starting a Royal Restrooms franchise. We'll of course link to your website and any of your socials or anything. And otherwise, David, thank you so much, man. Really enjoyed having you on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you again for having me. I enjoyed it immensely.